You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marcagiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Welcome back to the podcast. Evan Brand, my friend, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to chat with you. We came up with the idea of chatting about blood sugar. It's a low-hanging fruit that people still don't dial in, but yet they want the silver bullet to fix their problems, but their blood sugar is still not addressed. It's like you can't skip that and go to this magic supplement if you want to be truly happy and healthy.
Yeah, I mean, the whole goal of blood sugar stability is not relying on your hormonal system to buffer the highs and lows, right? Blood sugar goes too high, right? The pancreas has to come out and drop it down. Blood sugar gets too low, the adrenals have to come out and punch in some adrenaline or cortisol to bring it back up. Maybe even a tiny bit of glucagon, right? So you get these hormonal roller coasters where your hormones, like imagine, let's say this, like you're driving a bumper car, right? But you're driving it so smooth that you're not bouncing off the ends, right? So most people, they basically pinball or bumper car their blood sugar through the day, and they're chronically relying on their hormones for either side. The problem is there's implications in your mood and how you feel and in your body when you do that. When you bump on the left rail, let's call that left rail insulin, that's going to increase insulin, which can then drive and grow your fat cells. And it can also, for females, increase risk of PCOS. It can also cause cells to grow at an abnormal rate because insulin's a growth hormone, i.e. cancer cells. There's an inflammatory nature to higher or hyperinsulinemia type of environments because of cells growing and because of inflammation and because of the fact that high insulin tends to shut down the lipolytic enzymes. Lipolytic means the enzymes that break down fat and utilize it for fuel. So then now you become basically reliant on sugar for fuel. So this is the analogy of going camping and starting a fire with twigs and paper, and you're literally feeding the twigs and paper in all night long. You can't even go to sleep because the fire keeps on going out and then you freeze. So we want to rely on foods that allow us to drive down the center of this bumper car aisle and not have to crash on each side and then deal with the hormonal issues that may happen because of it.
Yep. So tell people what that would be. Like, these are like the banana and cereal breakfast people.
Yeah. So number one is starting your day with a whole bunch of refined carbohydrates. My belief based on physiology is we have our higher levels of cortisol in the morning. So we naturally have more mobilization of carbohydrate in our liver, from gluconeogenesis, or from just mobilizing glycogen in the liver or glycogen in the muscle. So we have more internal sugar in our bloodstream just because of our cortisol levels. So my philosophy is to consume less carbohydrate in the morning and higher quality protein and fat that keep that fast from the nighttime moving. And instead of having fasting, it's kind of like a nutritional ketosis where we're putting nutrition in our body, but our body's still tapping into our fat reserves, kind of like a starvation state. The difference is with adequate nutrition, our body's more likely to tap in to the food in our bloodstream versus our muscle tissue and our lean structural mass.
Yep. And with mood, I want to bring that up. you may be hungry by 10 a.m. and you're not able to go in between meals. Like if you're listening, if you're unable to go from breakfast to lunch and you have to snack in between, that's a sign that your blood sugar's off. Other signs, we could say irritable, if you're shaky, if you get stressed out, you get hangry, if your meals are delayed, that's a sign that blood sugar's off. You mentioned the insulin piece, so there could be excess body fat if you're insulin resistant. What else would you like to add to the list of symptoms? Anxiety, I know, is a big one.
Well, anxiety and mood issues because of that. Those bumper car rails, it's like the third rail on the subway, right? Where there's like you get shocked, instead you get depression, you get mood issues. If you're a female on the high insulin side, you can get PCOS. As a guy, you're going to increase aromatization, which is more estrogen, and you could get gynecomastia, man boobs, just moody or more emotional, because guys shouldn't have that amount of estrogen in, so it really screws up their hormonal physiology, and that can cause all kinds of different issues. And just to kind of like outline it, like we want to eat foods that are nutritionally dense, but we want to continue to keep our body in more of a fat burning state as a overall percentage, right? And there's a lot of people out there pushing a lot of fasting or intermittent fasting or just fasting in general, and it's like there's no magic in eating nothing. There's no magic in it. Now, there's some therapeutic benefit. The problem is most people that are significantly insulin resistant, you're typically not insulin resistant from eating a whole bunch of nutrient dense foods. You're typically insulin resistant because there's too much carbohydrate, and especially from refined processed types of foods. So there's not going to be a magic in, okay, let's cut the carbs down by giving you nothing, because you're still also not providing the nutrients to run those pathways at the same time. So you have one side of the fence where you're eating a whole bunch of calories that are processed and that are driving insulin resistance. Those calories have also high calories, low nutrition. And now the magic is let's eat nothing, which also has no nutrition. Now the benefit is there's also a lot of inflammatory compounds in these foods. So people do get benefit because the inflammation does go down, because nothing has no nutrition, but it also has no inflammation. It also doesn't have anti-inflammatory foods on the other side. So we're missing the nutritional density. We're missing the anti-inflammatory nutrients and the anti-inflammatory fats, the omega-3s, the antioxidants, those kind of things as well. So my thing is let's get the nutrition in there, get the blood sugar stabilized, so we're not bouncing off these third rails that are causing all these hormonal swings and emotional mood issues.
So it sounds like you're saying you want to graduate someone up to maybe an intermittent fasting plan. You might not just take somebody that went from eating garbage to straight to intermittent fasting, but they hear about intermittent fasting because it's trendy, so they don't go and dial in blood sugar first. They're just like, I'm going to go fast. I'm going to get off McDonald's or whatever garbage and go fast. And they wonder why it doesn't work. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, 100% is we need nutrition to run our system. And there's lots of people out there that are promoting just total fasting. And there's a lot of people out there that I respect and I like, and I get where they're coming from. Let's go over the total fasting benefits.
Yeah.
One, if you're massively insulin resistant, yes, it can help. The difference is, well, you're still not putting the nutrition in your body to run those systems. If we look at glycolysis and our Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain, it requires nutrients to run. So my philosophy is let's get those nutrients in there. Number two, there's a benefit because you're not eating a whole bunch of inflammatory, glutinous foods that may have a lot of inflammatory reactions because those foods aren't good themselves. My thing is, though, let's try to get the nutrition in, and let's also cut the inflammation out as well. The third thing is if someone's gut's really, really, really messed up, it could be helpful because then you just don't put anything in, which can let the gut heal a bit. Now, my thing is there are other types of diets out there like the GAPS diet or even an extreme kind of elemental kind of GAPS diet where you're still getting nutrition in, but you're using cooking and processing methods to pre-break down those foods and nutrients so they're much easier to take in to the body. So there's tends to be a couple of different ways where you can parse this out and try to make it work.
Yeah, well, people think too that the fasting is going to cure everything, but as you mentioned, you've got to have these different amino acids. These are creating neurotransmitters, they're creating hormones. So fasting is a stress. It's a good stress, but some people may be too weak for it. So you mentioned the adrenals already, but I found for me, when my adrenals were wrecked and I tried to do intermittent fasting, I did not feel well. I was sleeping horribly. I had anxiety throughout the day. So for me, I would say the disclaimer may be if you have adrenal stress, you may be unable to adapt to this fasting protocol.
100%. So number one, fasting is a stressor on the body, right? We know it's a stressor because our body will produce hormones to downregulate our metabolism. Just go type in hypocaloric diet and reverse T3.
Yeah.
You'll see reverse T3 levels go up. You'll also see even cortisol levels go up. Why is cortisol levels going up? Because your body is trying to start breaking down structural tissue, muscle, etc., to get nutrition from it. It's like, you're in debt. What's the first thing you do when you're in debt? Let's cut the phone bill. Let's cut the cable. Let's, maybe cut down on the superfluous extra expenses that aren't, fundamental. Well, your body sees muscle as kind of that extra iPhone expense. It sees it as maybe the takeout food from the sushi restaurant down the street. It sees it like that. Now, we know muscle has really great effects in performance and aesthetic and overall health. So we just make sure that income's coming in so we can sustain it, right?
Yep, that's a great analogy. Another thing too is the cortisol is probably a motivating factor because in ancient times, if you weren't eating, your body thinks eventually you're going to starve and die. So it's probably going to motivate you and maybe give you a little bit of the anxiety to push you like, hey, you better go hunt because you can't just be starving like this all the time. So there are benefits, but
100%. So there's one camp that's like, let's fast our way to health. There's no magic and eating nothing, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, every concentration camp victim in World War II would have the secret to health. It's just not that way, right? Yeah. Now there's therapeutic benefits once you hit optimal health. And this is where most people on the podcast, they won't get this far to hear it. Because they'll just see the title and just run. But once you hit a level of optimal health, that's where you can play with intermittent fasting. I prefer intermittent fasting more because you're still getting adequate levels of nutrition to run those pathways. You're just compressing the feeding window, right? If you need 2,000 calories of whole food nutrition, but you're choosing a 6 to 8 hour window to get that in, well, great. So then you get this 18-hour window where there's very relatively low levels of insulin, which can then help increase cellular autophagy, which then can help recycle proteins and have maybe some benefits in extending telomere length. I get that, right? But let's get to a place where you can do that and still function and your nutritional density is super, super high.
Yep. Well said. Is there anything else we should say about blood sugar? The gut influences blood sugar too. We do find with a lot of people with gut infections, which is something we test everyone for, with parasites, bacterial overgrowth, etc. Kind of like this fasting thing you've mentioned. Some of these gut bugs are stealing your amino acids. Lyme and some of the co-infections with that can take amino acids too. So if you do have gut bugs, that may be part of the reason why your blood sugar is crap. So if you're trying to do adrenal stuff, you're trying to do fasting work and you can't adjust, you've got to get the gut looked at too.
100%, right? So a lot of these, let's just say microbes or infections, they like processed sugar. Processed sugar is really easy for our body to process, right? It's really easy to take in and to utilize it for energy. And it's kind of has this addicting like effect. It can boost up dopamine. So these critters get that and they produce chemicals inside your body that causes you to crave it. So that's why I see a lot of people like, oh, well, just eat what you like and do this and listen to your body. Well, how do you do that? How do you do that if you have infections or yeast overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth, and these critters are causing you to crave certain things that may not be right for you, but may be right for them? That's where knowledge needs to come in so you understand why your body's doing what it's doing. It's like these, like the metabolic typing questionnaires of the 2000s, where I used to have people do these metabolic typing questionnaires, which are great. And you find out if you're a protein type, a carb type, or a fat type. The problem is the patient's gut microbes would take the test for them, not necessarily them.
Exactly. I mean, if I ate what I felt like eating when I had a candida overgrowth, I would have ate gluten-free donuts all day.
Yeah. So there needs to be an educational component there. And I think a lot of people kind of mess that one up and they kind of get more kind of intuitive on it. But it's good to have that, but you got to be in a balanced place to use your intuition. If not, the chemicals or the microbes in our body will produce things that will cause us to override that.
Yep. Is there anything else we should mention on the blood sugar conversation?
Oh yeah. So I'm the analogy king, right? So it's kind of like, you meet someone for the first time, the first couple months, or maybe 6 months to a year, you're in this massive honeymoon phase, right? And you just, everything is just amazing, right? It's kind of like that with these kind of infections. They're keeping you in this honeymoon phase with all these carbohydrates and all these excess refined sugar, and you may not be able to listen to what your body really needs.
Yep. That's for sure. So get tested. If you have gut bugs, fix those. If you have adrenal issues, fix those, because it's tough. It's tough to stabilize blood sugar if you have adrenal stress. Like you said, your adrenals can come in and pinch hit, but if you have weak adrenals, you're getting shaky, you're having panic attacks. You go to your psychiatrist and you tell them you're having anxiety issues. How many times are they going to mention blood sugar?
It's very rarely mentioned. And then also the nutrient density aspect too, right? So plants are great. Plants aren't quite as nutrient dense. The only exception for that is if you juice them.
Yeah.
All right. 500 calories of kale is 16 cups of kale. Very hard to do that in a day, let alone a sitting. 500 calories of grass-fed beef is 8 ounces of meat. When I go to a steakhouse, I'm putting down a 16-ounce steak, not an 8-ounce steak. All right. That's not a problem. Try putting down 16 cups of kale.
Oh my God. Let me mention this while you're on that topic.
Now, I'll drink some green veggie juice that's got 6 or 7 pounds of vegetables juiced in there.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna delude myself thinking that I'm gonna have 16 cups of kale on an actual plate in a day.
Yeah, since you mentioned it, let me bring it up. I had a new client last week. She's been a vegan for 2 years, and guess what? She just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
That's the problem with vegan vegetarian diets. They work for, and again, I'm not an all or nothing guy.
Yeah.
I can say who these diets are great for. People that are more insulin sensitive, they're more ectomorph. They tend to they take in carbohydrates. They get this propensity to want to exercise and do work. And they love the longer distance exercise. They do well with it. They tend to have this ectomorph, kind of longer, skinnier type of body type. They burn fuel really well. They do pretty good with the higher carbohydrates as a percentage, right? 60, 70%. They do well with it, right? Which is kind of the percent of carbohydrates in the food pyramid. Kind of interesting. So they do well with that, right? And, a lot of the good ones like Rich Roll, who you see, a lot of times to keep the muscle on, they have to do some kind of supplemental protein. So they'll do like a pea protein or a hemp protein. They'll do a high quality protein that doesn't have all the crap in it too. And they won't rely on a lot of the soy. So that's kind of how they get away with it. But people that are more insulin sensitive, it's hard to get adequate levels. The people that are more insulin resistant, it's hard to get adequate levels of protein on a vegan vegetarian diet. If you do the math and you put like the rice and the beans and all that stuff in there, it's hard to get less than 300 grams of carbohydrate a day and get that 0.5 gram to 0.75 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So you're looking at 300 grams of carbs a day.
That's crazy. I know. I had her run some of her numbers and it was close to that. I asked her like, what's your breakfast, lunch, dinner? It was just vegetables and pretty much beans like every meal. I was like, good Lord.
Yeah, and if you're doing 2,000 calories and you're doing 300 grams a day, that's 60% carbohydrate.
So her A1C level was a 6.7. So right there, type 2 diabetes. And she'd been promoted a vegan diet by some nutritionist and she tried it. And 2 years ago, she was eating tons of chicken and pastured turkey and blah, 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 kind of more paleo template. She felt great. But this lady says, I promise you're going to feel so much better if you do vegan. And she started to feel terrible. Hair was falling out. And the lady said, just keep going, just keep going. And then now just last week or the week before, got the diagnosis type 2 diabetes and reached out to me. And I said, the first thing you can do, let's add in some animal protein, just a little bit, just to see how you feel, like half a palm-sized portion of chicken. And she's like, oh my God, just the idea of meat again sounds so good to me. I already feel more relaxed thinking about it. So it's like,
people tend to lose the cravings of meat because they don't process it and digest it. And then the vegan and vegetarians, they compare the nutrient density. They do it fraudulently because they compare an unrealistic amount of vegetables that someone would eat in a meal or even in a day to a realistic amount of meat that someone could eat in a meal. 8 ounces of meat's pretty realistic. Even my wife will have an 8-ounce filet at a nice steakhouse and she'll be able to eat it. And she's relatively small, right? But putting down 16 cups of kale is quite difficult. The only exception is if you do some juicing.
Yep. Powders. There are some like greens powders
as well.
I don't know.
But still, I mean, that's still, you're kind of processing that in a way too. And you're not getting some of that fiber, and God forbid you add some carrot to that, then you're adding a lot of sugar as well. So you got to be careful with that. That's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, we had a question about the type of the gut testing. We do a couple different ones. The one we use a lot is the GI map from Diagnostic Solutions. You could check out Justin's site. You can get testing there. We run that on everybody, and it's really, really good because it's DNA based. So it's going to find infections. You do it at home.
100%. I love it. Any other questions that we can pull here that are pertinent to today's talk? So guys, if we're doing a podcast, we always appreciate keeping the questions, try to tangentially associate them towards the talk. And I get it. We don't label our talks. We are like functional medicine improv, right? You see comedy improv actors. We're functional medicine improv professionals. So we don't typically plan things out too far in ahead. So I get it. It's a little spontaneous.
Yeah.
Anything else, Evan, you can see there?
There was one question that we could hit on just because it tied into the gut a bit. If you must take an antibiotic, what precaution should one take to protect gut health? I would say first, if you must take an antibiotic, who says you must take one? Like, I believe I just had strep throat over the weekend. My wife looked at the back of my throat. It was yellow and white. It looked nasty. It sure felt like strep. My throat was hurting. And I'm just doing high dose herbs, different type of antimicrobials. If I would have went to a doctor, they would have put me on antibiotics. So I think first you have to really evaluate if you must take an antibiotic. Is that for real? Like you're going to die if you don't? Or are there herbs that you can integrate into it?
Yeah, find out the scenario. And if there's an option to do like an oil of oregano or silver, great. If for some reason, whatever that scenario is, let's say it's a car accident, right? Or let's say, someone's doing a procedure for you and saying you have to be on antibiotics. And if you don't take it, I'm not going to treat you, right? Then I would look at doing probiotics during and after. And there's some benefit in the research to actually doing it during as well. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head.
Yeah, Justin has several different probiotics. I do too. You could just check out our sites, justinhealth.com. He's got several, evanbrand.com. I've got several. We use professional healthcare companies to make all of our products. So you want to make sure that they're legit. If you just go to Whole Foods and you buy a probiotic, we can't guarantee the potency of it. You definitely want to go for practitioner grade for probiotics.
Cool.
That was it.
And then I see a question from a patient here. I'll answer the question here. Heavy eyes, headaches, fatigue, brain fog, currently taking thyroid balance, 2 morning, 1 in the afternoon, PMS, increase in cycle length, shortened but menstruation, longer, estrogen problem. So it depends. This patient, I can remember last time we chatted, was doing pretty good. So the question is, was there a backslide or not? If there was a backslide, I'd want to dig a little bit deeper into stressors or diet stuff. But we may want to put like an adaptogen in there, and I don't have this person's protocol up in front of us. So maybe some estrogen modulating types of herbs like some maca. I use a product called Feminescence that I get great results with. And then of course some adaptogenic adrenal support, and then make sure all the foundational stuff is dialed in. But I can't go any deeper without, doing a one-on-one, but I hope that helps. Maybe
some liver stuff too. Like sometimes with the cycle being off, sometimes it's just, you could throw a little simple liver support in, a milk thistle, burdock root, dandelion, something like that. Maybe some dandelion tea. It's in that category of stuff that might help and can't hurt.
Yeah. And then this person's also mentioning that they started some GI clearing, some gut killing herbs as well. The liver, the immune system, and lymphatic system could be a little bit stressed. So a couple things, you can do like a 3 to 7 day supplement holiday, kind of come off for 3 to 7 and rev back up slowly. Also make sure binders are in there, like activated charcoal or some bentonite clay. And then we can always put the ginger tea in there and just kind of gradually, inch it up slowly, just so you can, if there's basically a point of no return where these things start, you can at least figure out what that point is and then just err one side away from it.
Yep. I think that's good advice.
Yeah. Awesome. Great.
I think we're out of time.
Great feedback. Excellent. And I think we had a great chat today, Evan. Is there anything else you wanted to mention at all or add?
Just get your A1C tested. Like if you are concerned about blood sugar, if you've got type 2 or type 1 diabetes in your family and you're kind of paranoid about blood sugar, you could go to a pharmacy. They have a test kit called A1C Now, and you can get a test kit for like $20, and it's a simple finger prick you can do at home to test your A1C, which is like your average blood sugar over the last couple to several months. And you could check it. I mean, you could have a doctor run this, via blood too, but you could just do an at-home finger prick if you're curious. And I know Justin has a glucose monitor. He tracks his blood sugar, and hey, there it is.
Right here. So a nice little $20 glucose monitor. Do a functional glucose tolerance test, not the conventional one where they give you 75 grams of a sugary solution, because if you're not like a soda drinker, that doesn't mimic anything in reality, right? So $20 guy, get some strips, test your fasting, do a fasting 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, choose a random breakfast, a random lunch, and a random dinner during the week. Sometimes people can, like I mentioned earlier, they can mobilize a lot of carbohydrate because of a healthy cortisol response. So your blood sugar in the morning may not necessarily be high because of your diet. It may be high because of a cortisol response, which is known as the Dawn phenomenon or the Somoji effect. Very, very similar. One's because of a hypoglycemic response, one's because of a adrenaline cortisol response. They kind of cause the same thing, just a different domino starts the reaction, but the result's pretty similar.
Yeah. So the functional testing, what number are you looking for?
So below 100 on the fasting side, 80 to 90 is ideal, but below 100. And then within 1 hour below 140, my preferred is 120. And then 2 hours below 120, or my preferred is below 100. And then 3 hours definitely below 100, back to around a fasting level. That kind of gives you a window, because most people, during the day, they're being challenged by the food they're eating, and that's what's driving the insulin resistance. There's also the X factor, because insulin resistance can also be driven by not sleeping enough. So the sleep aspect is there. Lots of studies on college students that were within 2 weeks of sleep restriction, they were able to make them pre-diabetic.
Oh my God.
Sleep resistance. And then why, right? Well, part of it could be because there is research that sleep deprivation can deplete magnesium. Magnesium is very helpful for blood sugar as well. So there's lots of potential. And then also the cortisol response. Cortisol then mobilizes more blood sugar because of the stress that's happening from the malsleep. So there's like a hormone response that can cause it. And then there's the stress that depletes certain nutrients. And these nutrients are also important for blood sugar stability. So it happens in a couple different angles.
Yep. I'm sure we could chat further, but we should probably wrap it up. So check out, if you want to consult with Justin, check out his site, justinhealth.com. If you'd like to consult with me, evanbrand.com. We look forward to helping you guys, and we'll be back next week for some more fun.
Give us a thumbs up. Give us the like. YouTube, subscribe's not enough for YouTube. You got to hit the bell button. So smash that bell for us. Hit the thumbs up. ThyroidResetSummit.com. ThyroidResetSummit.com. And then Evan's got the Candida Summit as well, which is going on now. So make sure you subscribe to that. My link is justinhealth.com/Candida.
It just wrapped up. But if you guys want to go buy the event, I had a guy this morning, a new client, who purchased my upsell talk, which is where I did an hour case review of reviewing a client's labs and making a protocol. The guy said that upsell video alone was worth the cost. So if you want to buy it, use Justin's link, justinhealth.com/Candida. Go check out that event, and you can get that talk where you can see an hour behind the scenes, which we never review.
Yeah. And then do you have a link for my Thyroid Reset Summit?
I don't.
Oh, we need to get you a link, though. When you're on the podcast here, you can promote it.
Nah, that's fine. Use your link. People can have them. Go for it. ThyroidResetSummit.com. Go register for Justin's event. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome, man. Hey, it's been totally real, Evan. Great chatting. Let's talk real soon.
Take care, man. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com.